appreciate you guys staying. I know you've had a long day, and I think it's pretty cool how the stuff Michael's exposing you to is old guys can tell you this wasn't around, right? So like when I was in high school, I took one kicking club, and the guy I went to University of Iowa was kicking camp, and all they did was try to use it as a recruiting tool. And so the guy gave me zero instruction, and I showed up to Drake, and this kind of give you how some background things have changed. I kicked in the off season one time before I showed up to camp. And that's one time made me transition from a block to the ground. And I went to a place where they couldn't get rid of me, and I learned on the field, and things kind of worked out. You guys are in a completely different environment. You guys are so much better now. And the things you're getting exposed to, the fact that you have somebody come up here and talk about 3D imagery to help your kicking, I mean, that's stuff that I'm excited about. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. And the fact that you got somebody talking about recovery, I mean, that's the stuff I use in the season. So you guys are getting exposed to stuff that NFL guys are trying to find that edge. High school guys are getting that edge. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the things you guys are getting exposed to. So knowing that, I know you've got a long day. I appreciate everybody sticking around. I've got a very special connection to Michael's event because when we started Kicking for the Dream, for you guys remember back in, I came back to Florida, this event was there. My mother-in-law was in the hospital. So it kind of gets really personal for me. But as we were kind of going through things, we had started this foundation, we wanted to figure out what we could do, especially with the kicking community, because my mother-in-law was my biggest fan. She was awesome. She loved going to games, extremely supportive. She loved all the guys I played with. In fact, I think a lot of the guys I played with, they kind of liked her too. But it was one of those things that if anybody's ever experienced this and you have a loved one that goes into hospice, you start to rethink kind of how you're going to make an impact. And for her, she said, why don't you young kickers do the same thing that you do? They've got a platform, like they're in high school, they've got people to look up to them. Why don't you figure out a way with technology to make sure that they can raise money? And then we can kind of combine for the greater good and see how much impact we make. So that's where Kicking for the Dream was born. And when we started the foundation, this was essentially the dream. My mother-in-law experienced something with ovarian cancer that, unfortunately, too many women are going to go through. We're going to lose too many mothers. We're going to lose too many sisters, daughters to this disease. Like today, this is what it looks like when you look out in the ovarian cancer statistics. Like 1 in 75 women will be diagnosed. So if we have 95 kids in this camp, okay, you're going to look at least one kid, his mom, is going to face this disease. And you look on the bottom of how tough is this disease, unfortunately, you're going to lose 25% of the women that are diagnosed in the first year. So 1 out of every 4 women are we're going to lose them to this disease. The 5-year survival rates, less than 40%. Okay? It's a very deadly disease. It's the 5th most deadly disease a woman's going to face, and the deadliest gynecological cancer that exists. Men, I know what you're thinking. Okay, I know entirely too much about female reproductive health. Okay? Like that's just, let's be honest. We like to kind of be naive. But for all you guys in the room, if we're going to be advocates for the women that are in our lives, we need to understand the signs and symptoms. So these are things that I can pare it down for the guys in the room. The thing that your mom or your sister, your girlfriend deals with once a month, if she has those for more than 2 weeks, she needs to see your doctor. It's very important. Everybody in this room knows there is no early detection test for ovarian cancer. So when the woman in your life goes for an annual checkup, it's not covered. So a lot of women often think, I went to my doctor this year, I'm covered for ovarian cancer, I'm all set. That's not the case. So when you have these things pop up, where she's feeling full quickly, got to go to the bathroom all the time, bloated, all those kind of signs, last for more than 2 weeks, she hasn't been covered by her annual checkup, got to see a doctor. If we can get an early detection test, go back to this slide right here, 92% of the women that are diagnosed in early stages, when they're caught early, 92% survive. The only problem is less than 20% of all cases are caught in stage 1 or 2, because we do not have an early detection test. So that's Kicking for the Dream. What do we do? And this is some of the guys that have been involved with our program at the highest levels. So what we like to do is we like to say, we're United Keeping Specialists across all ages, high school to the pros. So the guys you see on the list up here, the first three, you got Spencer, Nick, and Quigley. Those are our pro guys, along with myself, that have actually done on a per kick basis. They've taken their performance on the field, converted, and donated money to the foundation. With those guys, what we do is we make sure that any money that they bring in, we match, and we give to an institution that's in the city in which they're playing. The other guys that are on screen, these guys are all that either come to our event that we'll have next week, our golf turn black tie event, or they support us monetarily and they want other people to know that they support what we do. So let's talk about Nick Novak. Okay? Give you a little background on Nick. His very first pro game when he was with the Redskins, he kicked a game-winning field goal. And he comes off the field, he checks his phone, and he finds out that a close friend of his had just passed away from ovarian cancer. So Nick has made it one of his missions in life to make sure that he raises awareness and funds to kind of combat this disease. So we're very lucky to have Nick on our side. When we started Colleen's Dream, Nick had been giving money just to various causes that were real broad, and maybe they might support a little ovarian cancer. He's joined us, and over the course of 3 seasons, we've been able to raise over $30,000 to support research at the University of California, San Diego. And what's really exciting is the research that Nick has helped us support is giving us, between that research and what's going on in Atlanta, we have 2 options now that are racing to get their early detection tests to the market, to get flushed out with size, and hopefully to validate its findings scientifically. So very exciting times. We're probably still 5-10 years away, but it's amazing to think how far $30,000 has gone in the fight against ovarian cancer. And you guys are thinking, we talk about NFL guys here, but let's be honest, we're just high school kids, and oftentimes you may not have the means. Oh, wrong slide. Let's give you a little more input about kind of what we've done as a group and organization. 15 different places we've supported research across the country. So again, talking about our connection with Michael, when I came, we hadn't even raised any money the very first time I spoke at this camp. Since that time, we've given out over $400,000 in research grants to 15 different institutions across the country. We'll have our big black tie event next weekend with the golf tournament. We're looking to raise about $200,000 over the course of the weekend. Our first event, we had 300 people show up. This time we'll have close to 500. Okay, so for a bunch of people that have been affected by the disease and want to make a difference, we feel a lot of passion about it. We're using that energy to fuel our organization as we grow. So here's 3 guys that have participated in Kicking for the Dream. 3 high school kids. And we've got Ethan Knutz on the bottom right. Jake Bailey was 2 years ago. And Grant Reyes out of Minnesota. These guys alone, by uniting their communities and getting behind them and their performance, they single-handedly have helped support 1 research grant by themselves. So it's amazing. Oftentimes you think that you don't have the means, you talk to some people in your community about what you're doing and people rally behind it. And you start to think about that your capacity for change is not directly tied to your financial capabilities. And I try to tell a lot of young guys this one thing. I'm not asking you to donate $200 and call it a day, but I want you to think about what happens if you gave $10 and then you got 20 of your friends to give $10 and they got 2 of their friends to give $10. You look how the fundraising becomes almost exponential. And all you're really giving up is maybe 2 Starbucks coffees. Here's our website. If you guys would like to be involved with what we do, we'd love to have you. We've had over 90 different guys be involved in our fundraising efforts in the last 3 years. This campaign alone has raised over $100,000 in 3 years. I thank Michael for letting me speak. If you guys have any questions, I'll stay afterwards. But the one thing I want the men in this room to leave with, there's 2 things. There is not an early detection test. Make sure the women in your lives know that. And the second thing is the signs and symptoms are there. They're quiet, they kind of whisper, but they're there. And the women in your life need to know about them, so that way, hopefully, down the road, we'll be able to save somebody's life and catch it early. Because catching it early makes the biggest difference. Thank you, guys.